Oh my goodness. Welcome everyone. I just want to make sure I sound okay. If you can give me a sound check, just let me know the sound's okay and I'll start. Sound check, anyone? All right, I'm going to start. Just let me know if the quality's good, if it sounds okay, or if I need to fix it, if you hear echoes or something in the background. Okay, well, welcome everyone to Raising Roots Abroad. This is the first time ever we're multi-streaming live across YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble. And I don't know if Facebook's going to work or not, but I have it hooked up. So I hope it's working on Facebook. So wherever you're watching from, welcome to this historic broadcast. So tonight's live stream might be one of the most important conversations we can have right now. Are we lost? But I want to be clear from the start. When I say we, I'm talking primarily about Western societies, the United States, Canada, UK, Australia, and Europe. For my Filipino viewers and others watching from traditional cultures, you're seeing this happening to the West, not necessarily in your own communities. You still largely honor faith, family, and national pride without shame or attack. But in Western cultures, holding these conservative values can get you labeled, attacked, or even silenced. Young Western men, especially, are feeling this pressure and it's driving them to seek something better. Places like the Philippines, where they can live by their values and find real community. Here's what's fascinating. Recent data shows young men in Western countries are actually turning more conservative, not less, rejecting the narratives being pushed on them and searching for meaning, respect, and harmony elsewhere, just like I did. Tonight, we're diving deep into this Western cultural crisis with real footage, real voices, and real data. I want to hear from viewers everywhere. So engage in the chat across all platforms. Let's understand where Western society is headed and why traditional cultures like the Philippines are becoming so attractive. Okay, the first video we're going to look at, there's going to be like 3 different segments in that video, and then we're going to watch all 3 of them, and then we're going to go ahead and I'm going to give you post video description or discussion, and then we'll just open up for conversations, and we'll do that with each video. And there's going to be 5 videos. The last video is really a radio podcast, but it's interesting, so I wanted to play that one. So this first one has 3 different timestamps we'll watch, okay? So this one's some hard data from Canada. And like I said, it's a prime example of what's happening across Western countries. This is an opinion. This is documented political shift happening in developed Western nations right now. All right, so let me share my screen with you real quick. All right, we're going to bring up the first video. Let me just get it set up here. I'm going to make myself smaller. And let me make it so you can see it a little better as we start here. Okay, I think that will be a little better. All right, So let's play this and let's see what they have to say here, what he has to say. And just let me know if the sound's like too small or something. Let me actually turn up the sound a little.
Arnie's not here for you. He's here to put Canada last.
Canadian politics has changed a lot in the last 4 years. Like, check this out.
In the 2021 federal election, polls suggested that about the same number of young men and young women voted for the Conservatives. But today, things are way different. That's an 18-point gap. And pollster David Coletto says that gap is growing.
Have you ever seen support this high for the Conservatives among young men?
Not in my career. It is a new phenomenon that we are seeing such a divide that the demographic most likely today to say they're going to vote Conservative in our polling are men under the age of 30. That is a complete change to at least what I'm going to say the last few decades of Canadian politics.
In the last 3 federal elections, voters under 30 were more likely to vote for either the Liberals or the NDP than for the Conservatives, which kind of fits with the stereotype of young people being more progressive. But around the time Pierre Poilievre became the Conservative leader, Gen Z men shifted their support to the party. Jeannie Roth was Poilievre's director of communications on his leadership campaign.
What's changed is as young people are increasingly unhappy with where they sit in the world because they don't own homes, because they haven't been able to start families.
Let's just stop it there. And I'm going to go to the next timestamp. So we're going to hit 3 of these real in order here, and then we're going to open up for discussion.
Conservative influencer from the Vancouver area. He posts under the name Robin Skies on TikTok, where he has nearly 180,000 followers. Beatty voted for the NDP in his first federal election in 2015, but he eventually turned to the Conservatives because he felt they were more responsive to the anxieties of young men.
Why do you think conservatism now is appealing to young men in a way that maybe it hadn't before?
Because we're on the front line of all the crap that's going on.
Beatty says he moved out of downtown Vancouver because it was too expensive and because he was assaulted.
But having like a crazed person who's clearly high on something attack me, call the police and have the police look at me and say, there's nothing we can do about it. Yeah, it's a radicalizing experience. And the only people who are capable of living life without having to face that, frankly, are an older generation who live in, protected neighborhoods, who bought into those neighborhoods when those neighborhoods were inexpensive, and who continue to be shielded from the reality that's going on that's being caused by these liberal policies and ideas.
We wanted to get a better understanding of when this...
Okay, let's stop there. We have one more to go here.
Then they may want their own heroes.
Of course.
It's my tire right on the screen.
Poilievre often speaks in a language that resonates with young men.
This insane, woke DEI obsession is driving people away.
Or like when he sits with Jordan Peterson.
Young people say, look, okay, I went through, I got an education, I work nonstop, and I have made the calculation that there is no mathematical path for me to own a house.
It's a strategy, I think, designed entirely to speak to that cohort, which is not a normal conservative audience. And so if Pierre Poilievre finds a way to get those young men out to vote, that's a constituency that could be decisive in him becoming prime minister.
Young men like Beatty.
The only reason why young people on the right are talking about all of this woke stuff is because people on the left are obsessed with it. They're constant, and it's like, I don't care. I want a job, I want a house, I want a family, I want safety.
Since Trump's return to the White House, public opinion in Canada has been in a state of extreme flux. So far, young men have stood by the Conservatives, but boomers have shifted their support back to the Liberals.
It's certainly true for any political leader trying to hold together a broad voting coalition that there are always going to be concerns about appealing to one component of that voting coalition over another. You know, Polyev is talking about institutions being broken, and so if you feel defensive of institutions, which many older voters do, it's harder for that to resonate.
Don't get me wrong, Donald Trump's comments about 51st state and the tariffs, not good, okay? Huge L. But the idea that people, specifically of an older generation, might be willing to give a mandate to Mark Carney because essentially Donald Trump bruised their ego while their kids are struggling to pay rent and to buy a house and to afford the basics is frustrating, to say the least.
All right, so let me talk about this for a second. We're going to open this up for discussion in just a moment. I want to just say, did you catch that stat in Canada? Men under 30 are now the most likely demographic to vote Conservative. The guy, David Colito, said this is completely new for Western politics. We've never seen anything like this in decades. And then to my Filipino viewers, notice the contrast. These young Canadian men, they can't even afford like homes, can't start families, feel unsafe on public transit. And that guy, Adam Beatty, was literally assaulted, and the police told him there's nothing we can do. This is the Western reality many of you don't experience in the Philippines. Okay, before we go deeper here, before we go to the next video, I'm going to open up in just a moment for engagement where we can have a little discussion. If you're finding value in this discussion so far and what I've been bringing about Western cultural decline, please hit that like button, subscribe to support the channel, and share this stream. Whether you're in the West experiencing this or in the Philippines just watching here, this affects all of us. Okay, so Filipino viewers, do you think, or I'm going to ask you, what do you think when you see Western men facing these problems? And then if there's any Western viewers here, have you experienced this feeling that your safety, your future, your values don't matter to the people in power? So I want to hear from you guys. I'm going to go to the chat right now. Hey, Therese, good evening. Good evening to you. Thank you for being here. I'm just going to take off that other. Now I'm a little closer here. Sounds good so far. Great. Thank you for doing a sound check with me. Appreciate that. Does anybody else have any comments they want to leave before I move on? I think we have about 7 people here so far. We just started. Any comments, any feedback? Anyway, I'll get back to the chat. I'm gonna move on here. And after the next segment, every segment that I go through will just return to the chat. So feel free to leave any comments you guys have. And again, this is the first time we're doing the daily live streams on YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble. I don't know if Facebook is working because I'm not real sure if it's going to work, but let me know if you're on Facebook watching. I don't think on my end, it didn't open. So, but I know it's working on Rumble. All right, so let's move on to the next one that I'm going to share with you. And this is the segment number 2 I'm going to do. We're going to have 4 different timestamps. And then I'll do a post-video discussion, then open it up to you guys. So there's going to be 4 different timestamps on this one. Okay, let me share my screen here. All right, I have to make sure I'm on the right video here. Okay, let me just open this up. All right, looking good. Okay, let me start this video. And what this one is now, this is from the UK perspective. So the last one was Canada, this one's the UK. And it's another Western country experiencing the same crisis. The Guardian investigated this, they call it a radical young men phenomenon across Europe. All right, so let's see what they have to say.
Monday.com, the opposite of any work platform we tried in the past. You can really see that they care about their user. It didn't just work.
All right, let's go to the next timestamp. All right, we're going to move to the next one. Same video. I kind of got these preset here so we can go to these talking points. All right, let's move on to the next part. I have a couple more here. Or actually, this is the last one, this last part, and then we'll open it up. So let me just stop sharing this part for a second. All right, so I'm a little closer to you now. So listen to what the British teacher said. He said, if I heard it right, men need to feel like they're in charge. That woman, the one that you saw, she kind of had a bigger nose than me, but she said that men need to feel like they're in charge. They want to feel like men. The crisis of masculine identity is specifically a Western problem. And then that young guy in East London nailed the Western dilemma. The big three: wife, kids, ability to take care of them. In Western countries, house prices went up at least 5 times, but salaries didn't. Social media made dating impossible because girls get hundreds of DMs while guys get none. So, Filipino viewers, you're seeing why Western men are looking to your country. You probably already know this, but I just want to bring it like up front and center because you might not have seen it or heard some of these things. You're looking at those statistics about America and other Western nations. 75% can't afford homes. 87%, they're tired of political division. And 50% experiencing regular loneliness. Yeah, I felt that for sure. For Western viewers feeling trapped, I've created something special, completely free, no strings attached. My Philippines Move compatibility assessment. It shows you the stark contrast, 65% lower cost of living. I'm going to show it to you in just a second. 95% Christian nation here in the Philippines. That's the updated facts that I found. This is data. Strong family values, safe schools and communities. Now I'm going to share it with you. I want you guys to check it out here. Let me get back to my screen here. And you can see this link will take you here. I asked for nothing from you. So you guys should be able to see this. And let me just show you. This is free, okay? And it's just find your new home here in the Philippines. If you're thinking, like you're curious, I want to give you all the data that you're going to need. Because when I came here, I didn't have any, like way back in 2010, January of 2010, like around just about 16 years ago, I didn't have any of this. So I want this at your fingertips and for free. Escape the rising costs, safety concerns, and social isolation in America. Let me make this bigger so you can see it. because I just checked my TV and it's too small. That should be a little better. Okay. So discover a country where your dollars stretch further, communities care for each other, and traditional values matter and thrive. So are you experiencing these in American realities? This is all data, you guys. So 74.9% can't afford a medium-priced home. 87%, this is American realities, but it's probably the whole West. But this is America's statistics. 87% tired of political division. Yep. 66.5% are in bankruptcies due to medical cost. That's crazy. 77% experience work burnout. And this one is so, this blew me away. 160 school gun violence incidents in 2024. If you divide that by 12, that's like what? Like how many per week? Like more than 3? That's crazy. Maybe like more like 5. I don't know. I didn't figure out the math. And then 50% of Americans experience regular loneliness. And I think it's higher than that, but this is according to the studies that I looked on online. So what's the Philippines offer? And you hear all these sweet stories and everything like that, but I'm talking the reasons why I came and what I found here, and what I've been with my wife Caroline for 15 years, and we have 4 children ranging in age from 5 years old all the way up to 16. And this is what I found here. And so I wanted to get the data to back up what I said. So this is on my site here. 65% lower cost of living in the Philippines on average, safe schools and communities, 90% lower healthcare costs, 95% Christian nation. Yep, you heard that right. 95% Christian nation, strong family values and community, better work-life balance. So when you come here, all you have to do, if you have 5 minutes of spare, is just click this start your compatibility assessment, and then you can just start answering. Like I'll answer the first few. Are you currently struggling with high cost of living in America? Yes, it's a major concern. Somewhat concerned, not really. So maybe it's a big concern for people that are really motivated to come. Maybe it's for some people somewhat concerned, so we'll click that. Go next. How important are traditional family values to you? Very important, somewhat important, not important. Well, I'm going to just answer for me. Very important. Next. Are you concerned about safety in your current community? Yes, very concerned, somewhat concerned, not concerned. Depending on where you live in America, probably going to either be yes, very concerned, or somewhat concerned. Just guessing on that. Would you like to would you be open to living in a tropical climate? So for me, I'd say yes, I love it. But some people might just say maybe. We'll just click that. Are you willing to learn about a new culture? Excited to learn, willing to try, hesitant. For me, I was really excited to learn, but maybe you're willing to try, or maybe you're hesitant. Then it's going to go down here to the next one. What is your current monthly housing costs? Rent, mortgage, under $1,000, $1,000 to $2,000, $2,000 to $3,500, $3,500 to $5,000, over $5,000. Mine was around $2,000 to $3,500, so I'm going to click that. Yours might not be that high, or it might be higher. And then you'll just be going, and it shows you how many more questions you have, and it goes to 20. But what you can do if you want to kind of shortcut some of this, if you want to just get like your assessments here, so you finish that. But if you want to compare, I made these really nice charts for you. And the red chart is US monthly in dollars, cost of living comparison. And then the blue kind of turquoise color is the Philippines monthly in dollars. So this breaks down in America, this might be 2,800. But if you're not sure, you can go, I'll just show you. There's safety also here. School gun USA, Philippines, 0 school shootings recorded. And then it just goes on and on. Healthcare, give you a chart like that. Quality of life. But if you want to get, you can go down here to the bottom for visa requirements guide or cost of living calculator. And you could put in exactly Philippines location type, like where you want to move. Do you want to go to like a city like Manila, Or do you want to go provincial places like Cebu, Davao? So maybe your cost of living might be for your rent that you're paying in America. We'll just say something like 2.5. I don't know your situation, but we'll just put that in there, and you can see you could put food and groceries, utilities, how much healthcare costs you, transportation and entertainment in America, and then it's going to give you this monthly savings for your situation and 10-year savings, 531,000 right here. And it just shows you, it breaks it down for you. It's really cool. And some people want to come here. No one ever had anything for me for visa guidelines, things I need to know. So I got that for you. And then what you'll need to do, your first steps. And also community, like I wanted to know safe places and I didn't have that. So I made some for you. These are the ones that were voted the safest places. So I put them and told you some safety concerns. And you can just fool around on this website completely free. All right, so that's it. And this is in the video description. And I'll also leave you the link to it later in the chat, okay? But it's in the video description. But for the people on mobile, I might need to leave it for you in the chat. Let me just do that real quick, and then we'll move on, open this up for discussion. So it's called the Roots Ready website. I'm just going to pop it in here in the chat, and then I'm going to open it up, look at your comments here. I just want to provide value for you, and people are struggling. No one wants to be paying for something, so, and I'm not collecting emails when you go to that site or anything, okay? I just made it with perplexity. Okay, so that's in there. Let's see where we are here. Let me make sure I stop sharing. Okay. Yeah, I stopped sharing. Okay. Okay, let's go into, before we go to segment 3, let's go in the chat here. Let's open up the chat window and just see what people are saying here. It's going to come on in just a second. All right, there it is. All right, I have to check my TV. And let me see what it looks like. I don't think Facebook ever opened up the event, so I don't think it ever opened up. That's sad. I really want to find a way to get this going on Facebook, but every time I try to do a live, there's issues with my streaming platform. This is a second streaming platform also that's had issues. Oh, it is live. Wow. That is so cool. It's live on Facebook. I didn't even know. Just found that out. If you're on Facebook and you might want to come to YouTube to leave comments, you can leave comments on there on Facebook, but I can't get to them till later. Or if you're on Rumble, you might want to come to YouTube just so you can leave comments and I can respond to them live if you're watching. But thank you for watching on whatever platform you're on. Okay, and I left this for you guys. It's it's Roots Ready website. I made it in perplexity. I love to make apps. For those of you that have been around a while, you know that. This is a free site for Western people from the West. Or if you're Filipino, you're curious, you want to find the cost of living comparison, play around on the website, and it will be very helpful if you're thinking to travel to the Philippines, to visit or to move here, to find out about it, to find safe places to live. So let's go to the next comment. Hey, David's here. Hey, David. It seems that America is all about money. It's all about forever working within the system. You can't just build a kubo on your land. You have to be enslaved for 30 years. There's no choice. Yeah, that's kind of the sad reality that's happening right now in America. And that's true, David. I appreciate your comments, your honesty, but that's kind of reality for a lot of people. Some people, they're not as effective by the system, but people like me, when I decided to come here, I started researching around 2008. In 2009, I already made my decision to come to the Philippines, and I arrived here in January 2010 just for the reasons that are happening now, but they weren't as big as they are now. And I just saw it coming, so I wanted to get out of there. I had no idea it was going to go to this level. But some Americans, some people in the Western countries, they're able to make ends meet. They're doing okay. But I would say the majority of people are struggling with some of these things in the video because it's proof. The data that I researched, I looked up, the videos so far I showed, and we'll get to the rest of them in just a little bit. It's all data there. It's all people's voices telling you how they feel. So I agree with your comment, David. Thank you so much for leaving that. Is there any other comments? Before I move on the video? We'll come back to the chat in a little bit. All right, I want to move on to the next parts. Okay, let's see. Give me a moment here. So that whole website there I just want to remind you, there's nothing asked, nothing sold. I just want to help Western men evaluate if a major life change might be right for them. Okay, let's move on to the next video. Okay, and this one is Australia, because I wanted to include these other Western nations. So we've already gone through Canada, the UK, and now we're hitting Australia. So there's another Western nation is seeing the exact same trend. It's really amazing. It's all these Western countries at the same time. Sky News broke down why this conservative wave among young Western men is spreading globally across developed nations. Okay, so let me start this one. Let me share this with you. And this is going to be Sky News, you guys. Oh, let me take this down real quick. Oh, Mary, I want to get to I saw Mary left. And I forgot where Mary is, but I think she's in America. She's married to an American. She's a Filipino. I like to see what she has to say. Hi, I'm back and good to hear from you, sir. You too, May. It's May Grants. She's there. She's been married for a long time. We are not feeling safe and we are struggling, especially the grocery expenses are expensive, yes. So yeah, May, that's what a lot of the data shows, what you're saying right there, and you're living it. So, all right, and one more from May. The people lack a sense of community. Yeah, I love to hear that from a Filipino that's either an overseas worker or married to an American and is over there. It could be both, right? Or retired over there, but they're over there. And I like to hear your viewpoints. I always see them in the comments. But these live streams are also for you guys to voice what you're seeing over there. I appreciate it, May. Thank you so much. Okay, let's take this down now and move on. Okay, and let me switch so you can see it a little larger, or make this bigger here. Okay. Let me get the chat out of there. Give me just a moment, you guys. I'm just kind of trying to figure this out. Trying to get me in there too. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, let me just fix this screen real quick. Sorry about that. We'll be going here in just a moment. Sound like a flight attendant sometimes. Okay, let me switch now. All right. Now we are ready to rock and roll.
Now, polling in the Australian Financial Review reveals that a deep political divide has opened up between young men and women. Young men are more disposed to Peter Dutton, while young women are increasingly leaning left. According to the polling, the opposition leader's net approval rating is 14 points lower among women than it is with men. This is in the 18 to 34 age group. And within that same age group, the Greens have the support of just 20% of men compared to 32% of women. Meanwhile, the coalition is attracting a primary vote of 32% among young men compared to 25% among young women. Joining me now is former Liberal Party branch president Edward Kroger. Edward, what do you think's behind this political divide? What's behind this phenomenon, particularly of young men increasingly identifying as centre-right or right-wing?
Well, Rita, thank you so very much for having me. You're perfectly right. This is an issue that's not just happening in Australia, that is young men becoming conservative. It's happening all across the Western world. There's a great reset against woke, if I may say. It happened in the US with Donald Trump. It happened in New Zealand with the new government, and it's happening now in Canada, here, and the UK. Mm-hmm. I think the real reason behind this, Rita, besides the policy differeces to which men may be more attracted, is that men are subjects of vilification by the left. Their favourite phrase, one of them, is toxic masculinity. Sure. And frankly, Rita, I think we're seeing an uprising of young men because they're just sick and tired of it. They're meant to be able to count on their political leaders for leadership, for inspiration and support. Whereas whenever they look at their political leadership on the left, particularly members of the hard left like the Greens and Adam Bandt, but even the Prime Minister, who, as is well known, is a member of the hard left Labor faction, and so they don't see any support from him either. And this is, in my view, a totally natural response. If you're in the middle of a conversation and then one person is not talking to you, not even talking about you, you're going to tune out, you're going to go somewhere else, and that's precisely what I think is happening.
Well, you're so right, because we do see this messaging, and it's relentless, that men are toxic, they're privileged, they're dangerous.
We're just going to let this go for a few minutes.
Masculinity itself is presented as toxic. I mean, we never use a term like toxic femininity, would we?
No.
And you even see it at all boys schools. I mean, you would think that would be one environment where boys would be fully supported, but even there's just constant messaging around toxic masculinity. So I'm not surprised there's a bit of a backlash to that sort of narrative.
I think it's a big backlash. Another point, Rita, I think, is that young men these days, they don't have too many inspirations. They don't have too many people to whom they can look up to as a heroic or an influential figure who they want to aspire to be like. I mean, for instance, the Brits, they used to look up to Winston Churchill, who won the World War. Now he's denigrated as a racist and as practically a non-entity. But we have the same here in Australia. I mean, our history is portrayed as some sort of abomination, as some sort of disgrace.
Exactly.
And I think young men in particular, but many young people, are really starting to think, you know what, why do I have to be ashamed of my country? I want to be proud of myself. I want to be proud of my country. Of course, we had terrible things in our history. Every single country in the entire world has had those things. Yes. Why do we have to have this sense of self-hatred and people are revolting against it?
Exactly. Absolutely. Now, the polling in the Australian Financial Review also showed support for Labor and Prime Minister Anthony Albanese remains higher than support for the coalition among both young men and women, more with young women than men. how can the Liberals attract more young voters? How can they get through, particularly to young women who, as we've discussed, are increasingly going left?
Well, just by the way, one quick point, Rita. Of course, those polls show that young women are gravitating towards the Greens, whereas young men are gravitating towards the Liberals. I think one of the glaring reasons for that, Rita, is that women are never vilified the way that men are, as you just mentioned before. And I'm not, of course, for even 1 second advocating that it should be equal.
Conservative women are vilified plenty.
Oh, yes, as you could attest.
Now, can I just, I want to ask you about this story that I saw in The Australian today, really quite disturbing, about the university, Macquarie University, having to establish a high security safe room in an Australian university for Jewish students, because there is just so much hostility on campus that the Jewish students feel in danger. And it comes as the Daily Telegraph reports that the University of Sydney is also understood to be operating a dedicated space for Jewish students. Edward, to me, this is essentially an admission from universities that they've failed their Jewish students, that they haven't kept them safe, they haven't created a culture on campus that is welcoming, and we've now got safe spaces for particular ethnicities and religions.
Well, it's just preposterous, isn't it? I mean, why in the Lord's name do we need safe spaces for a particular religion on campus?
Wow.
I thought we were all meant to be against discrimination in any form. That's what the left's, one of their icons, Martin Luther King, used to say. Now we have discrimination, but against the majorities. It's the minorities who are not the subject of vilification. Now it's just, let's attack.
Okay, let's stop there. Let's open this up here. Just amazing that this is all happening at the same time. It's all happening at the same time. That's all over the globe. It's just so set up. To me, it's just totally set up. Now, Edward Kroger there, he called it a great reset against woke in Western societies. But notice, this isn't just political. It's cultural. It's spiritual. That's what's crazy. It's even spiritual. It's specifically happening to countries that have abandoned traditional values. Thank God for the Philippines. Young Western men are rejecting being told that their natural instincts, their desire to protect and provide their faith traditions are somehow toxic or outdated. This is not happening in traditional Catholic countries like the Philippines. They call it the manosphere. The manosphere gets criticized in Western media, but figures like Jordan Peterson are filling a void in Western culture where traditional masculine virtues used to be celebrated, not attacked. I love seeing all the comments here on YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble, especially our Filipino audience, giving perspective on how different your culture is from these Western struggles. So, Filipino viewers, what positive masculine role models do your young men have? Western viewers, what role models do you have growing up? Or did you have? Like for me, did I have growing up? And do you think young Western men today have positive role models? So let's go to the chat. Let's open this up here. But I want to go back to what May said here. Let me show this. She's Filipina in America, married to an American, been married for a long time. The people lack a sense of community, is what she said. And the thing is, they're pushing their agenda, these political bandits, the news, the abundance, whatever you call them, the news. People that just have their skin in the game are pushing these values out since kids are very young, all the way up through high school, into college. And it's kind of like you're easily pliable at that age. It's like you don't have a chance. It's just very sad to me. But when I can stand back and look at it all over the Western places around the globe, it's all happening at the same time. And it's just very sad to me. Hey, everyone. Hey, Joey. That's adobo and apple pie. Joey. He's here in the Philippines, an expat. How are you, Joey? Joey, do you have anything to say about this? About what we've been presenting so far? And Joey, I want you to check out the website there. Check it out. I made that, and through Perplexity. It's another app. Joey, go there and check it out. It's free. Nothing gained for me and everything to gain for you. But nothing gained, nothing lost, we'll just say. All right, let's go. Any other comments? Drop your comments, you guys. This is an interesting discussion. I want to always bring it back to the community. I'm going to move on in a few minutes, but I'm encouraging you to leave comments. Let me check Facebook. If we got any, wow, we have a bunch of views there. Let's see if we have any comments. Thank you, everybody on Facebook. Leave your comment on Facebook here. I'm going to move on in a few minutes, but I want to... Okay, I don't see any comments here on Facebook. So if you're on Facebook, leave the comments on Facebook, and I'll sure get to them. I'm not going to check Rumble. Too small over there on Rumble. We're trying to grow there too. We're multi-streaming here. All right. So no comments at this. No more comments. Let me see if I missed any. We have a lot of comments before. Oh, we got David just dropped a comment here on YouTube. A large part of the problem is a moral generation of the 60s. The leftist boomers should have left the next generation better off, but their greed and wokeness destroyed us. Yes, Trump is fixing it. I agree with you. Cannot disagree with you, David. Very, very concise and to the point there on that comment. Thank you for sharing that, David. Yeah, it's the wokeness, but there's many on that side of they don't call themselves woke, but that I guess, I don't know what you call it, liberal way of thinking. I don't know. I just want to be kind, but at the same time, we have to be real. Those people, they have a totally different, and there's probably more than half in America. And I got attacked on the campuses when I was there for my viewpoints. So you can't really talk to them. I'm just trying to meet part way with them so I can understand their views without attacking like they do to us. All right, let's see what Joey has to say. Adobo and apple pie. I think it's good that people are talking about what's happening in the West. Before COVID, no one talked about what was happening to family and society. Yeah, exactly. We were vilified for, when I was there, I was talking about it, and I was vilified at my work. I was attacked for my spiritual beliefs, and I was told to shut up. So now people are more able to talk about it now. Like 15 years later, they're talking about it. They're still being attacked, but they're talking about it. I love the Perplexity website, by the way. I can suggest to try Lovable AI. It makes beautiful websites. Yeah, that's true, Joey. I like Lovable too, but I like Perplexity because it can give me all those details I want. If you click the links down there, it's going to give you the cost calculator, everything. And Lovable will do that, but I've had a lot of trouble doing these kind of things I want, where Perplexity will just, boom, pop it out, and easy for people to use with the nice graphs and everything. Just check the website in detail. Some of the social media, I didn't make the links work yet, maybe later, but all the other links work. For all the information, think about it, Joey, before you came, the information you need to have at your fingertips. That's what it has there. Just check it out deeply. All right. Let's move on. We'll get back to the chat. We'll get back to the comments in a little bit. All right, we're going to go on. And I have a few more to cover here. Okay, so now we're going to move to America. This video from post 2024 during the American election shows how this Western trend played out in real election results from real people. You're going to hear what they say. The online influence is now translating to actual political power in Western democracies. Okay? So let me share this one. Let me get rid of this other one. And so we have this video, and I'm going to share 3 different places in the timestamps and then discuss it. And then we're going to go to the last one, which is a radio podcast. It won't be as long. And then we'll close it out. But I'll open up to discussion and we'll close it out. But let's move to this video, this American now. So let me share my screen real quick. And just tell me what you think about this, okay? It's going to be kind of interesting. And we have to be fair also to all sides. Okay, let me see where I'm going to be sharing this part. Where did I mark here? Okay, got it. I'm already there. And let me make it loud enough so you can hear. There we go.
Various billionaires, Elon Musk. Dana White thanked the young male influencers who so effectively turned out the young male vote for Donald Trump.
I want to thank some people real quick. I want to thank the Nelt Boys, Aiden Ross, Theo Vaughn, Bustin' with the Boys, and last but not least, the mighty and powerful Joe Rogan.
And turn out the young male vote they did. According to CBS exit polls, Trump won male voters under the age of 30 by 18 points this year, which is the same demographic that Biden won by 18 points in 2020. Who are these young men influencing other young men to the far right? What can the left do to better reach these men? And how did an ideology about masculinity and women, once relegated to the seedy corners of 4chan, creep its way into the mainstream? As always on this show, whenever we're talking about the internet and politics, I ring up my friend and yours, Taylor Lorenz. Taylor, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
And since you were last here, you have become an independent journalist officially.
Yes, officially.
Taylor is such an incredible journalist doing such great work. It is not an easy thing to go out on your own as a freelancer. It's what I do as a job and takes balls. So congratulations, Taylor.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy.
Are you excited to talk about the young men?
Yes. Let's speak to the men.
Which is something I don't do a lot on this podcast. But boys, I'm speaking to you.
Gentlemen.
Okay, let's stop because I want to move it to farther along here for this one so you guys will get the most out of this. So this is farther along in the video. With their discussion here.
I don't think that like Sneeko or Andrew Tate, especially not Andrew Tate, but I don't think any of these people like go to bed at night being like, okay, time to be a nice person in real life now. Like it takes a certain type of evil and irresponsibility to be performing all of this bigotry online. But you can tell that in this video that Sneeko is not aware of the real life consequences of his rhetoric and what it's doing to like 12-year-olds.
It reminds me of just like, I mean, so many internet trolls before him, right? That are like, wait, no, I wasn't serious. Like, I didn't really mean, I mean, I guess this is just like so much extremism too, generally like, wait, whoa, you guys are taking it too far. And it's like, well, what did you think the consequences of this would be? Where did you think this was going? It was always going there. Like that video is so kind of disturbing because it presents like, especially like the youth and the young children that are consuming his garbage. Like you just see how it's interpreted and there's no denying it. He can't deny it, right? Because otherwise in interviews, he'll be like, oh, no, that's not my audience. And it's like, here's your audience directly confronting you, repeating back what they're hearing from you.
A lot of people over the last week have been like, I saw multiple viral tweets with like, why have the young men of the United States turned into Hitler's youth? And I think that 10-second long video is like the single most illustrative example of the entire process happening of the radicalization of boys.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few cast members of the Manosphere that I would like for you to explain to me. Because I feel like you know them and I don't. I literally made a list. Because I was like researching for this episode and I was like seeing all of these influencers that Donald Trump made content with. And I was like, who are these people? And they're all so famous. But just like, that's how I don't know, walled off different parts of the internet are. What is the Nelk Boys? What is the Nelk Boys?
The Nelk Boys are a group of Canadian pranksters. They started in prank YouTube era, sort of second half of the 2010s, really birthed out of like the Logan Paul, like who also was part of all of this. Yeah, they're Canadian YouTubers, although they've gotten very involved in American politics.
Wait, they're Canadian?
Yes, they're Canadian.
What? This is literally foreign election interference.
Canadians are always like, they're like the only rude people to ever come out of Canada, so we had to send them to America. Some of them aren't. I think Steve will do it as American, but yeah, the main guys are Canadian. They really blew up in early COVID because they refused to do lockdown and they went on a national US party tour during the earliest days of the pandemic when we had, no treatments for COVID. And so they resisted. They also kept gyms open. They were really into the like right wing, we're not shutting down anything in early 2020. And so they did this like frat tour where they were like visiting frats and stuff too and partying. And that got them a lot of attention. Ultimately they're a prank channel. So they do pranks and that's really what blew them up. Now they're getting more political, but what blew them up was like classic YouTube 2018 pranks.
Sure. And then during this election cycle, they were on Donald Trump's private jet with him.
They've been on that jet multiple times, but yeah, they collaborated. They have a podcast.
Okay, let's move on to another part I want you guys to see just for a little bit of understanding. This will be the last part of this video.
Credential him through the DNC. He had to get a credential through his uncle who runs The Young Turks, another YouTube channel. Once he got into the DNC, they booted him out after he interviewed people from the uncommitted movement and told him that there was no more space for him. This is the most relevant content creator in the entire left internet. And they kicked him out of the DNC. That's just such a perfect metaphor for like how, and they don't respect the internet. I mean,
they being the Democrats.
The Democrats don't respect the internet. The Democrats are completely in bed with corporate media. 150%.
I mean, it feels like the strategy this election was like guilting young people to get out and vote. But the thing is, you need to really meet them where they are. And what the right so successfully did was tap into these young men who have, through, extraordinary misogyny and really disgusting content, made themselves cool among young men.
But also, why won't they go into these leftist spaces? Why would Kamala not do a single interview, unscripted over an hour? The entire Call Her Daddy interview was scripted. She didn't even go to Alex's house. Like the set had to be created. It was such a weird interview that was not how they normally do those interviews, like set up to look like a 60 Minutes interview, right? Like they don't want to engage because this is the fundamental problem with the idea. What they keep running,
remember at the beginning of the episode how I was like, we'll get there.
Yeah, but I know I was like, I'm gonna get mad. But it's like you have to wonder, How did we get a Democratic Party that is so terrified, that knows that they are so completely out of step with all young people on all the major issues, so they can't even engage with those young people on the internet, and they have to stay off the internet and go just talk to the New York Times and the Washington Post? Because if they actually engage with people on the internet, they will be called out. They will be called out for being completely out of step and not having policies that are popular and not living up to their promises. They're not a party of the people. They're a party of corporate rich donors. And if you're going to be a party of corporate rich donors, just be Republicans. They already have that on lock. And you can't win on the internet when you have nothing to say. So it's like, even if you had put, like, imagine, where is he from? There's like not a clear answer.
He was, as incels are becoming a punchline and no one's really taking them seriously, King Incel emerges in the shape of Andrew Tate. I feel like I probably don't need to introduce Andrew Tate too extensively because there's a great chance that you probably know who he is. But as is the tradition on this podcast, I always do like a little bit of explaining, a little bit of background, because there is someone who blissfully doesn't know who Andrew Tate is. And I am so sorry to take that bliss away from you right now.
Let me find, I was going to look up where he's from. Where is he from? There's like not a clear answer.
He was raised in Chicago.
I know, but he has that weird accent though. He's from, I don't know.
Maybe he moved to the UK when he was really young.
We'll get into it. Well, it doesn't really matter, honestly. Andrew Tate is an influencer.
Can you imagine? The point is his ancestry.
Where is... Andrew Tate is an influencer who emerged really, I would say, in the early pandemic days, although he had been on the internet prior to that, as this sort of like the king of misogyny on the internet. He and his brother Tristan live these lavish lives in Europe. He was living in Romania primarily, although I think he's originally American. He has a very strange accent, where he's kind of, I would consider him the sort of successor to Dan Bilzerian. Dan Bilzerian was known as the king of Instagram in the 2010s. He's this like hyper muscular, masculine guy who was always surrounded by like, 10 porn stars or whatever. Andrew Tate kind of took that on. He started this thing called Hustlers University in 2021. It was like to help make you rich. It really blended sort of like self-mythology around him and his brother with like get rich quick schemes, crypto he was pumping really early, and basically told men, especially young men, exactly what they wanted to hear, which is that women are to blame for all of your problems. The woke agenda is against you. Women are keeping you down. Your bitch mom won't stop taking the fucking Xbox. She doesn't deserve to have rights, like that type of stuff. And he really played to the algorithm in a way that, like, much like Dan Bilzerian played to the Instagram algorithm, Andrew Tate just mastered the YouTube algorithm. He was in every single YouTube video for a while before they banned him. And same with TikTok. I mean, he just became completely mainstream through these clips where he's saying deeply misogynistic things. And it really spoke to incels because he gives incels sort of like a path out of inceldom. It's like, I used to be like you kind of vibe. Like I know what you're going through, and look at me now. I don't respect women at all. I sex traffic them because, by the way, he was eventually indicted on sex trafficking charges. Like, yeah, it's just like a complete disrespect for women and a deep misogyny that appealed to millions of sort of incel and incel adjacent men online.
I mean, from like the kind of creepy, dusty corners of the internet that like all of the kind of early.
Okay, let me stop sharing this. Let's kind of break this down a little bit. So you saw the footage of Andrew Tate, so you know a little bit. If you haven't heard of him, maybe in the Philippines they don't. Maybe some people have, maybe not. But it just kind of shows that all these people kind of believing in what he said, and then how desperate young Western men are for strong male role models or figures. When Western society doesn't provide healthy models, they'll find unhealthy ones. And yeah, maybe he was unhealthy because what he was saying and doing, and then the way he was demonstrating with women, he's always around women and then kind of treating them disrespectfully. That part's true, but it's kind of a desperate thing. People were following him because the other side wasn't listening at all. So the shift is real in America. Trump won young men under 30 by 18 points in 2024, while Biden won them by 18 points in 2020. That's a 36-point swing in 4 years in Western politics. So, Filipino viewers, you're seeing why your country is so attractive to Western men. And Western viewers, this is exactly why I created this free assessment tool that I shared earlier, and it's in the video description. When you're feeling lost in Western society, you need real data about your options. And that tool shows concrete comparisons between what you're experiencing in America and the West versus what's available in the Philippines. So, Western viewers, do you think this is mostly about economics, culture, or something deeper? And Filipino viewers, what do you think is really driving Western men away from progressive politics? And then we'll move on to our last segment. So I'm asking you guys this. So Western viewers, if you're a Filipino in the West too, you can answer, do you think this is mostly about economics, culture, or something deeper? For me, I think it's something deeper. It's about those things, but it's something deeper that people can't put up with it. But I'll let you answer that. Filipino viewers, what do you think is really driving Western men away from progressive politics? So let's go back to the chat here. And let me let's open up the chat here. All right, there's the chat. And it looks like Jose Diaz. Thank you, Jose, for being here, Jose Lito, because I appreciate you watching so many videos and leaving comments. So your values are the individualized beliefs that make you, you. Without them, you as an individual cease to exist. Yes, your values are everything, right? Totally agree with your comments. It's not hard to make decisions when you know what your values are. Wow, that is really deep right there. It's not hard to make decisions when you know what your values are. Then, Joselito, you know what your values are because you were brought up here in the Philippines. And you have a strong roots, strong foundation on faith, family, community. So you are not confused at all, I'm sure. Most Filipinos are not, because you're brought up on those foundations. In America, we lost those. For me, even growing up as a young boy in the late 60s, early 70s, into the 80s, into college, I had to keep quiet a lot of my spiritual beliefs, my faith in God, especially in college. But it's wonderful to be in the Philippines where it's lifted up. Faith, family, extended family, community, being married, teaching the strong values to your children like what you learned, generation to generation. Thank you, Jose Lito. Let's see. Oh, okay, Jose Lito. Then May's a Filipina in America who's been there a long time, married to an American. We are dealing with hate, culture, and loneliness. Yes. Yes, you are, May. And that's what drove me to come here to the Philippines. The hate culture, then the Filipinos will just hear about online what they see, but I wanted to present this in a deeper way. We heard the people speaking from different videos, different viewpoints, but many of the viewpoints are the same all over the globe, all over the West, because that's exactly what you're dealing with. Hate culture and loneliness. You're cast aside for your beliefs and your values. Your character is destroyed, assassinated. Oh, brother. Okay, I don't know what you mean, Joey, with that one. Oh, brother. Maybe you're the video you're responding to. Okay. So Joselito again, universal human values in a Filipino context take on distinctive Filipino meanings and motivations. Wow. Universal human values, universal in a Filipino context take on distinctive Filipino meanings and motivations. Thank you, Joselito, for sharing that from a Filipino. You people on Facebook, are you going to leave comments for me? I know there's a lot of people watching, but Filipinos, leave some comments on Facebook. I'd love to get to them. Okay, let's move on here on YouTube. Joselito, what is uniquely Filipino? Thank you for explaining this. One is uniquely Filipino are the ways by which Filipinos arrive at decisions and conclusions, which are based more on their values systems rather than their logical principles. So well put. Yeah, it's not like a rational thinking. It's more logical from the values that you learn from a young age that you're rooted in, compared to the Western culture being so confused, so lonely. There's no role models really to follow, or they're really radical on one end or the other end. But I think we're going to swing back because God is going to have to be brought out again in America. Faith, family, community it will swing back eventually. Otherwise, there'll be a complete, the West will just fall. What's happening now will be worse. It'll just fall, has to swing back to these things you're talking about, where the other parts of the world, the Western world, will know what it's like to have deep roots. And they'll arrive at these decisions like Filipinos do. They're based on the value systems, which is lacking in the West. Thank you for that. That's very deep. I agree with you, sir, and there's something deeper. Yeah. Just what Joselito's telling there. It's a system of values. It's character. It's the character derived from an upbringing of having deep roots, a deep cultural understanding where most of the culture is following that, and they're proud. You guys are proud to be Filipinos, proud to have nationalism. Most Filipinos. I'm not saying there's not a wokeness here that's spreading. There might be. But you have most of the people are following the same values, and it's building the same kind of characters that Filipinos are. And you should be very proud of that. And that's what brings people like me here, people like Adobo and Apple Pie, Joey, also, because he's one of my friends. He's here. It brings us here because of those parts of the culture. We can ignore, not every part of the Filipino culture is perfect. And we're not going to blow that sunshine up people's backsides. I like to speak to the parts that I love, that why I'm here. And what you're mentioning there, Joselito, and what Mace talks about, and other people, other Filipinos that are in the chat, in past chats, that talk about. And I want to lift that up to the world because the world needs to hear it. Not just the negative things they hear about the Philippines, like just getting a girl, meeting on a dating app, pump and dump. They're no good. They're going to scam you. They're going to steal your money. You're going to lead with your wallet. All that garbage, that nonsense. Yeah, that happens. But that's when your head's not screwed on straight. I mean, I'm not going to say bad things don't happen. They do. But you have to learn from that. And then when you fall and make a mistake, not talk bad about all the Philippines, because most of the Philippines has good things going on with their value systems, with the characters they develop in their children that I'm lucky enough to be developing in my kids, with the help of my wife and the extended family, that I can appreciate and lift up, and I do on all my videos. That's what I lift up, and that's what you cannot ignore. And I hope that the Filipinos help me spread this far and wide to the West, because they need to hear it. not be blocked, not the algorithm be blocked and not show what I'm saying to the masses. They should not block this content. Shouldn't shadow ban. This is stuff that needs to get out. So let's move on here in the chat. Filipinos arrive at their decisions and judgments using their value systems. Yep. And you're lucky to have that. A Filipino knows a genuine Filipino when he sees one. Yeah. Yep. Totally agree with you. I'm not Filipino, but I've been here long enough to see that and to hear my wife and the extended family and some of my friends. I understand what you're saying there. They'll know a fake like that's not like, or one that's doing the bad things from a genuine Filipino that's raised on those good core values you're talking about. And you know what it is in the West? It's a missing of those things. The deeper things are the spiritualness that you learn when you can connect your mindset to having a supportive, faith-based family and extended family. When you are having difficulties, they're always there to support you and not abandon you. In the West, what happens when you think differently and you think faith-based and maybe you fall, you make mistakes, you're going to be abandoned by a lot of people. They're just going to abandon you. If you make a mistake and because you're not perfect and then you fall or you just make a mistake that they don't like, they're going to cast you out in a lot of cases. So it's because there's not the core values, the values that you're brought up with as a Filipino. But what I do in my videos is I can take what I see happening here, those values you talk about as a Filipino, and share it in my videos to the world, or in my live streams now to the world, and then break it down so Westerners can understand it. And there'll be people that will just disagree and just not understand what I'm doing, or they don't get it from their mindset and they'll bash me, and I don't care. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be here expressing what I see with fresh eyes to the world, what I see, the wonderful things here in the Philippines. But I'm not denying bad things happen here, but maybe those are the ones doing those are not the genuine Filipinos that are raised in those traditional values, that don't do those things, that have it in their heart not to hurt other people because they see that God is within them just as they are within themselves. They're within the other person, and they deserve to be treated the way the Filipinos are brought up from a young age, from a baby into the school systems, to their nationality, what they learn, the things I talk about in all of my previous videos that a Filipino here can explain better than me. Joselito, Filipinos now ask what our ancestors never asked before. What blank in terms of values does it mean to be a Filipino? Interesting. Interesting, Joselito. Is that good or bad? Do you think that's good or bad? Or do you think it's just neither good or bad, just kind of a growth in a different way? Or what do you think about that, Joselito? Joey says, yeah, my wife and I went to raise our sons here. My wife and I want to raise our sons here because the Philippine culture is so much better to raise a family in. We just told my American family last week. Wow. So you guys decided to do that. I know you guys were making decisions for the longer term, but you decided you're going to raise your children here. Your sons. I know you have another child. Yeah, so your two children you're going to raise here in the Philippines. That's a very smart move, in my opinion. There's no comparison at all. No comparison. Thanks for sharing that, Joey. May says, most people are opinionated and judgmental, specifically from other race and culture. Yeah, that's true. That's what's happening in the West. They will say you're colonialist. If you're white, you're imperialistic, you're misogynistic, you hate women, you hate just because you're white or you're a man. Yeah, that's been going on for years, May. When I was in college, they were telling me in 2009 when I was in college in 1988, 89, until I graduated in 92, they were telling me to take the back seat because I'm white. Because I asked why, if I'm getting really good grades and I'm like in the highest, getting the highest point of my grades, like other people that are different races, why I don't have the same options to get scholarships. And they said because I'm white. It didn't matter. They just assume you're what I'm rich or something because I'm white. So anyway, I just, at that time you couldn't say anything. But people think, but what's been spouted is if the other races are lifted up, not you, you're stepped on. That's what I think a lot of Filipinos don't need, but I want to share those things so that they understand that it's not true. Yeah, there's colonization of countries like the Philippines a long time ago. That happened. Well, not so long ago, right? In recent history. But many of us weren't even born yet, and we're not the same people. And yeah, and there's good and bad in all of that, but yeah, we don't agree with a lot of that stuff too. But don't cast us as that just because of our skin color, because our hearts are not our ancestors, what they did, some of the things they did, some of the bad things they did. Don't judge us because we're from a certain place in the world and we have a certain skin color. All of us are born from the same cloth. We're cut from the same cloth, and that's God. And God resides in all of us. So we shouldn't. Well, I'll get to that. I'm going to get to that in a little bit. I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to my closing too soon. We have one more. We're gonna stop sharing for a moment on the chat. We're gonna move to the last part with this radio podcast. It's kind of interesting here. So let me take the chat off here. Let me share my screen. And you guys, I'm going to just switch anyway, but it's a podcast. It's not going to be so much we're going to listen to. So this one is the last one. We're going to examine whether conservative values themselves are evolving in 2025. This is from a radio station, WDET Detroit. So Detroit, Michigan. Radio discussion asks whether Trump's first month represents good old-fashioned conservative values or something fundamentally different happening in Western conservative circles, okay? So we're going to move to this one. And we have 3 little sections to go from. And I have it set on the first one already. Let me turn up the sound. Okay, and
all of this funding could be halted. Trump's critics say that this is all very bad. They say we're watching the unraveling of government and democracy. Here's Congresswoman Debbie Dingell on our show yesterday.
What you're seeing with DOGE is just a meat cleaver across the board. We could be looking at Medicaid cuts that will deny seniors long-term care, children will be denied health care. We may not have SNAP, which helps keep our kids from being hungry. I'm worried about a lot, not a little, a lot. All these programs impact our communities and our neighbors.
His supporters, however, tell people they're excited about government cuts that conservatives and libertarians have long wanted.
It's been exactly as advertised. He was going to hit the ground running. He had 4 years of thinking about the possibility of getting back into this position. He made promises along the way. He was much more ready. He came roaring in. Sure, some of it is going to be off-putting because he is reactionary. He is explosive. He is unpredictable. Those were many of the reasons that people aligned with this president.
Trump supporters often say to watch what Trump does, not what he says. So how should we interpret Trump's actions 1 month in? Is this good old-fashioned conservative values in action, or is there something fundamentally different, fundamentally dangerous about this administration, as Democrats like Debbie Dingell are warning? Joining us now to discuss how the Michigan GOP views President Trump's first month is Denise Elias. She's the executive director at Oakland County Republican Party. Denise, thank you for joining us on the Metro.
And thank you for having me.
So the first month of Trump's second presidency has been busy, to say the least. What stands out to you as the most successful part of his term so far?
Well, there are many things to point to that would spell success. But for me, the most important thing is the fact that he said what he was going to do. He got into office and he began executing against that immediately. He was well prepared. He came in with his choice of cabinet members. He got those pushed through immediately, and they have executed on their plans immediately as well. So what I think we're seeing is high productivity and efficiency in action. And Republicans here in Michigan, in Oakland County, and across the country are thrilled to see him do what he said he was going to do.
Okay, let's move to the next part, which is going to be like a comparison. So let me find this part. So they're going to contrast this with Reagan when he was president in the 80s. Ronald Reagan.
Politics in America. Where do we begin?
Well, I think what Reagan did was to combine a anti-government conservatism with a populist style that conservatives hadn't had too much of before. And I think that was a very potent combination. If you think about the sort of basic message of Reagan conservatism, the government's too big, bureaucrats in Washington are telling you what to do. That's all there in the Barry Goldwater campaign of 1964. But when Barry Goldwater proposed that, I think a lot of average voters, a lot of working class voters, people who depended on Social Security, they found that quite threatening. What Reagan's sort of genius was that he was able to combine that message with a style and a presentation which made it seem less threatening, particularly to a lot of working class, white working class voters who in the 1980s, for various reasons, were ready to walk out of the Democratic Party's coalition. And I think that's something that Reagan shares in many ways with Trump.
Could you talk a little bit about talking points used in mobilizing that white working class, especially during that time? What were some of the talking points, conversations that were happening? In what ways did it seem to be this rock star type of situation happening?
Well, I think there were a couple of things. So firstly, Reagan had a very sort of compelling narrative about why shrinking the size of government and cutting taxes would be beneficial for the average American. There was the framework of supply side economics, the idea of trickle down economics that, well, we make more space for the wealthy to invest, and that eventually creates jobs for everyone. So there was a narrative there. I think the idea that government is inherently wasteful, that government is about bureaucrats spending other people's money, and therefore people don't spend other people's money as carefully as they spend their own. Those arguments have been advanced intellectually by people like Milton Friedman, and they create.
Okay, we're going to move to the last part here.
Conservatism, and it sounds to me like you're saying this is not a partisan issue at all. Is that accurate?
This is not conservatism. This is not about cutting taxes or policy. This is about authoritarianism. This is about what we had the American Revolution about, which was overthrowing kings. I mean, God, sorry, it's really
well, and that means that if authoritarianism is to be shaken off, that it likely will be on the backs of Democrats to do that, though. And so what is your advice? What do you think that Democrats need to do right now, and how are they doing? What are you observing as far as their response to Trump? What's your grade for them?
So I would say about a C or a D. I think there is sort of two kind of schools of thought. Sort of the Jim Carville, who everybody knows was the major strategist back in the 90s for Bill Clinton, and Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader in the House. They've sort of argued for a passive strategy. Their logic is, well, if you see the other side failing, get out of their way. And it's true at some level that what Trump is doing is going to be a disaster for the country. There's going to increase inflation and all that the stuff that's likely to make Trump less popular. So there is a certain logic to it, but I think they underestimate the stakes of what's going on. This is not like any other presidency. I think you're seeing the wholesale destruction of the constitutional system, and therefore we need to sort of prevent that from happening. So we can't simply sit back and wait for them to fail. We have to take a more proactive stand.
Okay. So let me just take this out real quick, and then we're going to have a little bit of a discussion here. Let me just remove this part. All right. So that discussion perfectly captures the tension in Western conservative circles right now. The Michigan GOP representative says downsizing government is exactly what conservatives wanted, but the professor at the end there argues that this isn't traditional conservatism. It's something fundamentally different and dangerous. So here's the key insight for our topic. Western conservatives are so frustrated with the system that they're willing to embrace more authoritarian approaches to preserve traditional values. They have given up on the old procedure conservatism, like Ronald Reagan style, and want results. So for Filipino viewers, this is why your stable traditional culture is so appealing. You don't need authoritarian measures to preserve faith and family, because these values were never under attack in your society. This is what I learned. And for Western viewers, this debate shows why many are looking abroad. When your own conservative movement is fracturing between old guard and new populist approaches, places like the Philippines offer clarity and stability. Now, the assessment tool I mentioned shows this clearly. Western societies are experiencing political chaos, while the Philippines maintains 95% Christian values, strong family structures, and social harmony. So, Filipino viewers, do you think your traditional values will remain strong, or do you see Western influence changing them? Western viewers, can conservative values survive in increasingly hostile Western cultures, or do you need to look elsewhere? That's my question for you. I'm going to check the chat. for some more responses here to what I'm saying. So I hope you guys will leave comments here. Let me see what we got here. Leave your comments, you guys. I'm going to give a few minutes before I do my closing here. I want to hear what you say. I'm going to look on Rumble, Facebook. Come on, you guys, leave some comments. Alicio Yaela Naharo, my brother-in-law, is watching. Thank you, Alicio. He's watching on Facebook. I'm going to give a shout out to Alicio. Anybody else want a shout out on Facebook? There's Alicio right there. Come on, Facebook, give me some comments. I see a lot of people watching, but no one's leaving comments. Yeah. Any shout outs? Any people want to comment about this total video that I'm sharing today? What do you think about the West? What's happening there? I'm going to ask one more time. So, to the Filipino viewers, you're witnessing the decline of the Western civilization. You're witnessing it. This debate shows why so many people are looking abroad, as I mentioned. When your own conservative movement is fracturing between old guard and new populist approaches. That's why we're here in the Philippines. That's why people are thinking of going to other places in the world. Europe, there's still some conservative places in Europe, I believe. Other places in Southeast Asia, and maybe other parts of the world that I don't know about that you might want to check out. They want clarity. They want stability. So I'm asking the Filipinos also, do you think your traditional values will remain strong, or do you see Western influence changing them? And I want to ask any Western viewers watching, if you want to comment, can conservative values survive increasingly hostile Western cultures, or do you need to look elsewhere? That's what I'm asking. And Joey said, he's an expat in the Philippines, said him and his wife are going to raise their sons here. That's what they decided. And they just told their American family last week. I would really be interested to hear what your American family said, Joey, if you want to share that. If it's positive, or did you get you're crazy, like some things, like a lot of people are getting? Okay, let's see what May said here. Most people are opinionated and judgmental, specifically from other race and culture, yes. That is true, May. I agree with you on that. Joey says U.S. politics is downstream of culture. It's up to people to change to government. Can't do it. Better to find a culture that honors Christian family values. Amen, Joey. Thank you. Amen. Another expat agrees with that one. So better to find a culture that honors Christian family values. So what is it? Faith, family, extended family, community, nationalism, respecting borders, protecting the borders from undesirables coming to your culture. The Philippines will do that. It's a safe place for your school to raise your children. You don't have to worry about putting your children in daycare with strangers. You're not sure if they're going to be okay there. You don't have to worry about school shootings. And I'm talking about data, you guys. So let me share before I close this out. I'm sharing this for you because what I just discussed, the facts, the one that sticks out here, 160 school shooting violent incidents since 2024. 50% of Americans experience regular loneliness. 74.9% can't afford a medium price house. 77% are experiencing work burnout. 87% tired of political division. 65%, the Philippines offers 65% lower cost of living, safer schools and communities, 90% of lower healthcare costs, 95% Christian nation, strong family values and community, just like what Joey just said, better work-life balance. Take this assessment, you guys. And then you can click on these links here. I got all this information for you that you're going to need to know if you're thinking of relocating to a place like the Philippines. Click on these links here. Visa requirements, cost of living calculator, culture preparation guide, healthcare system overview. Got it all here for you. All right. All right, let's go back. Joselita, have you given much thought lately to what your values are? You should, because if you don't know your values, you won't be able to take responsibility for what you do and build your personal power. Yeah. Well, what are the values in America anymore? What's an American? Who is an American? How can they know that? They can't. They can't know what their values are unless they find a safe place, unless they have faith, family, unless they have what the Philippines has. So they have to find a quiet space and go into some kind of seclusion where they have time and they can pray. They can seclude all the craziness going on around them and be able to build their power, which is their mindset. And for me, I couldn't do it there. I had to leave. And I did. So what are my values? My values are the same as the Filipinos, because I've been here for almost 16 years and I know what my values are. I know what my core beliefs are. Family, faith, extended family. The culture of the Philippines teaches that. Faith, family, community. And then raising my children on that, a strong spiritual faith in God. And then it's easier here because when you go to schools, they're getting brought up on that. In the schools they go to, our children, they're getting brought up on praying and how to pray and life lessons and experiences from a strong community, from a strong culture that's not afraid to teach and is very strong to teach that to their children because they know their value system. Then they're strong to know when Filipinos are doing things wrong, the Filipinos will know. And when expats come here doing things wrong, and if they do it really bad, they'll be seen as undesirables. And so nationality is lifted up here and protected. Faith is also lifted up and protected. Family, community is lifted up and protected. It's sorely missing in the West. Therese, hey Therese. I believe that Filipino values will still remain strong. Thank you, Therese. So you think no matter what happens, who comes here, they will remain strong. And I agree with you, but I'm not a Filipino. I agree with you. Thank you for sharing that. Why? Because it's demonstrated every day here in the Philippines. If you watch what's going on, if you just pay attention in your community, and if you notice when things that get broadcast on social media is very different here in the Philippines. For instance, if an expat come here is doing good things and they're blending in, they want to learn the good things about the Filipino culture, they're able to do that, then they will do very well here, and they will thrive here. But you just can turn on Facebook to see what happens to undesirables here. That because the Filipinos will protect their nationality, they protect their citizens from the bad behavior of foreigners coming here looking for trouble. You will find trouble. Even the Filipinos are patient. You will find trouble here if you're looking for it. And just look on Facebook when they get marched out. Filipinos too, if they're doing bad things. Thank you, Therese. I love that. I'm glad you say that. I wonder what other Filipinos have to say on that one. Let's see. Joselito, be honest and try hard to decide exactly what your core values are. Because when people identify their values, it gives their lives focus and gives them a sense of security during times of chaos. Exactly, yes. Yes. That's true. But many of us Westerners have to leave the chaos. Some people are strong enough to, I don't know if it's strong enough, it's strength. If it's the inner strength, they're strong enough to stay where they are and be able to face it and to go into seclusion and ignore the noise around them and know their values. But for me, I wasn't. I admit that. I had to leave. And I left. And then I came here, and my first year I fell. I fell far. And then I from there, that's when my journey started to learn what my values are, who George is and who he isn't at the deepest level, and rise up with Caroline and her family who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. So that's the question that Westerners will have to ask themselves and answer for themselves. No one can save us. And if you pray to God with the wrong mindset, not even God will save you, because God wants you to fix your mindset first so you can connect to learn what your values are. But God's frequency is, if you're in the chaos and you're spewing chaos and you're in a negative mindset, God's going to give you more of that. It's up to you. Just like what Joselito's saying, that's going to be deep to identify your core values. That's going to be a deep dive. And you can't answer that in words sometimes. Confusion. Any more comments here? Let me check Facebook if we got any more. Facebookers don't want to leave comments. Okay, that's fine. YouTubers are leaving comments. All right. Okay, so we got David again. We got David. We got some comments here. As much as I long for more communal culture, I'm also aware that I've been enculturated with rampant individualism. How long does it take for the withdrawal process? That is such a good question. I don't know, David. For me, that was part of my problem in America, because I didn't agree with individualistic pursuits of happiness, and I never agreed with that. So for me, it was kind of easy to wean. I weaned from that. But I'd say it took me 5 to 7 years to get rid of a lot of my baggage from the indoctrination of my culture that I couldn't escape from. But I feel free right now. I'm almost 16 years. I don't know. I'm a student of the province. I'm always learning. So I'm a student of the province, and I cannot answer that question. For you, you'll experience it, and then you'll be able to help someone else with that one. That's such an honest answer. I love that comment. As much as I long for communal culture, I'm also aware that I've been indoctrinated with rampant individualism. So are you talking about like some privacy issues or having your like privacy with your own free space, or because that's fine here. Like Filipinos like that too. Like I think you know by now. You've been here long enough. Like they like freedom too to go do what they do, and then you just trust them to kind of do whatever they do when they go. And they kind of it's kind of a nice way when you're brought up in the system for creative. Your mind becomes more creative, I think, in the Philippines in a different way. So tell me what you mean on the individual. Which part is you? Are you? Is it the privacy part? I'm interested to know, David. We got a few more comments here. Joselito said, when people live up to their values, it gives them a sense of purpose. Wow, that is so true. Peace of mind and fulfillment. All necessary agreements for happiness. There you go. That is the best. That is so awesome, Joselito. I totally agree with you. But unless you experience it, you don't know. Unless you experience what your purpose is, you don't know. And people call it purpose, right? But what is it really? It's the total immersion of when your spiritual being hooks up with your mindset, not the ego part, but the God's whisper is what I call it. The peace of mind, maybe you call it. That's the full fulfillment when you connect everything to that spiritualness of being a human being. We reach our capacity, I think, and we will live in our purpose every day without having to force anything. That's the way I would explain it, but a Filipino explains it in a different way, I'm sure. Joey says, when we told my American family, because I asked you that one, thank you for answering. They were sad, but I've been explaining all to them about all the good things here, and after watching the U.S. news, they get it now. That's great, Joey. I'm happy for you. I'm happy that your family back home gets it. They're starting to get it. That's the best place to be. Instead of thinking you're crazy or something, it's easier for you. Oh, hey, May. May says it takes a village to succeed, and I believe a Bayan Han culture. I totally every time I agree with you. That's why it takes a culture here. It takes that belief, that system that you're growing up with, that are in so many of my videos that I talk about. That's what it takes. It's a village. It is. You're absolutely right. Filipinos are brought up on that traditional, cultural values, seeing the collective values, and then also each human being being seen as deserving and special in themselves, but in a collective society. From an American kind of explanation. Yes, mostly privacy issues. Yeah, you'll get used to it, but it's okay. It's okay to be private. Those privacy things. It's okay, brother. You'll be fine. Just the thing that I died to myself that I wasn't used to within my first year was extended family is going to always be around, and to accept it and embrace it. And then a lot of foreigners are okay with that, and a lot of foreigners have big problems with that. They just want to be with their wife, and then because kind of how America is. But when you come here, what I would say, I don't know how you are, David. I think you're one of the people that embraces it, but I've talked to foreigners in my comment section and also people in San Carlos City that pass by in my life, and they can't accept that. They don't want to accept that. And I tell them, probably if you want to be married like that, then just go home to the West, because if you can't accept that, you're not going to be happy here, because family is everything here, and you can't ask your wife to tell her family not to come here. And I've seen that. I've seen foreigners do that, and then their wife does that. She tells her families, you can't come here. You only can come here seldom. And that's very sad. We should be embracing that. If we move here, we should embrace those things, because they will make us better and more loving and open up our heart, not to be so gahi, not to be so hard. Yeah. Privacy. I understand you, brother. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Just from what you told me the last live, you're a loving person, so you'll be fine. That's the important part, is your heart. What do you value most? Honesty, trust, truthfulness, integrity, kindness, empathy, dependability, compassion, humility, courage, love, wisdom, faithfulness, trustworthiness, creativity, etc. What do you value most? Who are you asking, Joselito? Because per God's whisper in my heart is love, is the most important. But if you're asking me, I don't know what other people say. But it's love, because all the others will fall away. Only love. All those others are important too, but that's what I would say. What do other people say? I'm a little torn here in SC, belonging for meaningful friendships and a sense of belonging, but needing private time too. Yeah, David, I can just tell you my experiences. I can't answer that for you. I understand you because I've been through all that too. But I can just tell you my experiences with that. For me, my first 5 years here, I longed for meaningful friendships, and a sense of belonging to my family, but also to Filipinos and also to expats that would come here. And then by year, I don't know what year, just for me, I don't know what year, but later after my 5 years, I no longer needed that. Maybe it's when I found my purpose, what people call your purpose in life, where I don't care anymore. All I care about is my family, my extended family. My family is my children, right? My wife, my extended family. And I don't really care about what other people think of me as far as expats or even Filipinos. I don't need the rest at all. I just need my faith, which is always going to be here, no matter where I am or no matter what happens. Though the faith can never be destroyed by negative experiences or chaos. The faith that God gives you when you know your purpose is unshakable faith and can never, ever be shaken by anything that happens externally. And then I started pushing out into my physical world, so the external world, things from my heart. And that's never happened anywhere else until I came to the Philippines. And maybe it's just because I happen to be here, but it's a thing. I feel like it's the things I learned by witnessing, and then by what God put in my heart through the whispers that I was open enough to listen to that I couldn't hear before. So I was following the right voice, and my faith became unshakable when I found my purpose. And then after I found my purpose, I didn't care about external things anymore or what people thought of me. The human laws, I don't care. I just will respect. But God's law is the most important and the one that I will follow. And I think that's what the Filipinos also follow. Many of the Filipinos follow that, because I learned that here, but I don't know. I can't say, because we don't know our own heart, right? That's what I learned. We don't even know our own heart. So how can we know others? But that's why I'm saying I'm just speaking from my own voice. And I hope that's helpful. I don't know if it is. I'm just, like I said, I'm a student of the province. And I follow God's whisper. And it cannot be shaken by any humans, no matter what they do, even if they killed me. Can never shake that eternal faith that we all have the capacity to find, or it finds us in some way when we're searching for it. Thank you, David, for your honesty. Appreciate that a lot. Personal power. This Joselito. I told you guys, this guy is deep, very deep person. Personal power is personal. Yours comes from you alone, and anybody who encroaches on your individuality diminishes your power. Interesting. That's very deep, Joselito. That's very, very deep. Personal power is personal. Yours comes from you alone, and anybody who encroaches on your individuality diminishes your power. Yeah, but I think when someone's encroaching on that, naturally they will fade away. They won't remain in your life. They will be naturally pushed away, or you won't even have to do anything when you're in your right place. When you claim that your birthright. That's very deep stuff. May said, poverty is not tragedy, but lack of love and support. Poverty is not tragedy, but lack of love and support. I don't know. I think maybe poverty of mind is what you're talking about, May. Am I right? You're talking about poverty of mind, which is poverty of thought. And that's caused from lack of love and support. And then everything we push out from that is not probably going to be good. Poverty of mind, because there's a different poverty here in the Philippines, where many Filipinos their situation is poverty, but their mind, maybe their mind is poverty. I don't know. They know, but many Filipinos have those deep values rooted, and whatever situation they're in. Even some Filipinos will do bad things because of chasing something else, like for money or whatever, but many Filipinos are happy no matter what situation they find themselves in. They'll be resourceful and happy because of the values that are deeply rooted. But you're Filipino, May, so you've experienced both cultures. You can speak more wise to that one. Because I'm a simple man here in the province as a student. Our lives must stood for something. Yes, that's what you're talking about, Joselito. Yes, you're right. They must stand for something. That's a happy life when we stand for something. Whatever happens when we stand, that means we're standing strong. You cannot be shaken. And that's the meaning of life for us. Thank you, Joselito. Strong people don't put others down, they lift them up. Wow. That's it. That's the difference. That's the difference. That's why a lot of us cannot live in a society where others are always being pushed down for things they can't even help and not lifted up. And that's exactly why many of us come here to the Philippines, because we're tired. And then once we're lifted up here, hopefully we all fly together and not alone. We lift each other up. Thank you, Joselito. You're grinding out beautiful hot fire. This is hot fire from the heart. David says, tell us more about what you learned by witnessing. I think it's really hard to adopt the Filipino way without watching it in action. One can only learn so much from videos and books. Yeah, you have to live it, David. It's life lived experiences that help you find your purpose here in the Philippines, whatever that is for you. but you can't experience it from exterior things. That's my point, and that's my whole point of my whole channel. In most every video I make, it has to come internally. It has to come internally from what God put in us. We have to find that. Us expats have to find that. And then if we're blessed enough to find that, we'll start pushing that out into our external world. So no longer will we respond like just what Jose Lito was talking about. The external chaos cannot shake you anymore. But what is the deepest part for me to figure out was when it happened, when I heard God's whisper, I realized that it's whatever happens in the world around me, it doesn't affect me. Whatever happens in politics, whatever happens, destruction and the bad things that happen, sometimes the catastrophes that happen, the bad weather, the earthquakes that happen, the storms, even in death, they won't shake us what we truly are. But as we live as a human being, as long as we're alive, when we learn that everything comes from within, and it starts from the seed of thoughts that we put in our minds, and from those seed of thoughts are the words we speak. And from the words we speak, the seeds of thoughts, the words we speak, we push out the actions, the ones we focus on, good or bad. And that's what God gifts us. God cannot say no. So if you want trouble, God's going to give you more trouble. God's not giving you the trouble. You're giving yourself the trouble. God's just giving it to you because he blessed us. And if we don't find the good part of that and connect that with our mind, our thoughts, our words that we speak, it connects our spirit. And then when those are all connected, you will stop the negative stuff. It will all be, you will push out wonderful things to the world. And you won't care because you will just care about love. And you'll care about your words that you speak to other people. The harm you cause, you'll notice that. And you will be careful not to do that anymore. But if we don't align with God's laws, then we'll never discover that, and we'll still always cause harm to ourselves and to others. I hope that makes sense. I'm just a student of the province, doing my best to explain to another expat from the West, another kind expat named David. Yeah, Joselito, everything happens for a reason always. Yeah, you're right, Joselito. Absolutely. Joselito, good character keeps you alive in hearts as well as in words. Wow. Wow. Wonderfully expressed, Joselito. Thank you. Good character keeps you alive in hearts as well as in words. Yeah, and I think the good character lives on. The good character lives on because when we have bad character and we're doing bad actions, that lives on too, but kind of for a short time. People will forget those kind of people when they've moved along, when they've been displaced. And hopefully it's not us doing that. But we don't like to see those bad things from anybody. But yeah, that is so right. Good character keeps you alive in hearts as well as in words. Be grateful for little things in life that others take for granted. Yeah. Wow. Be grateful for the little things in life that others take for granted. That's what my wife is always telling our children, but not in those words. She's demonstrating it. She tells them always, you're blessed. Know that and you should be grateful. The things you have in your life. And she talks about some of the little things. noticing that the grass, the trees, the wind, the weather, other people, animals are all made in God's images. Yeah? Just noticing and being happy you're alive, being happy you're breathing, you have food. My wife's always saying those things and demonstrating those things. Filipinos are good at that too, for making jokes, laughing during hard times, and keep smiling. Oh, May, poverty is a situation, but we can change it. If we allow to change our mindset to love and support one another, yes. When we don't have poverty of mind, when we can change that, May, you're so right. Poverty is a situation we can change. It's an external situation, like what Joselito was saying, external things, the chaos. Also, poverty is an external thing. What I learned too, May, is when I say I am, the things that follow. If I say I am poor, I will remain poor. If I say I am not good enough, right? I'm not strong enough, then I will remain like that. But if I say I am abundant, I am happy, I am joyful, I am grateful, I will be those things, and they will be pushed out to the world. I am grateful for what? I'm happy to be alive for what? When Westerners realize that family, faith, and community are so vital for our survival, we can't live without those things. Those help us change our poverty of mind. That's what I'll just call it. Thank you, May. You're absolutely right. I agree with you. Okay, you guys. Let me I want to say thank you all for joining, and I call this historical first multi-streaming broadcast across YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble. I just want to recap hopefully what we've learned about Western cultural crisis tonight. Okay, so what I shared, I just want to recap. First, this conservative shift among young Western men is global. It's across developed Western nations, from Canada to the UK to Australia to the US. Western men are rejecting progressive narratives and embracing traditional values. Secondly, this isn't just politics. It's about dignity. It's about respect and having a future worth building in Western societies. When Western men can't afford a home, can't start a family, can't even feel safe walking down the street, conservative politicians are the only ones acknowledging these problems. But we can't depend on them. Thirdly, when we're seeing Western conservative views themselves evolving into something more populist and potentially authoritarian, because traditional approaches failed to preserve what matters most. To our Filipino viewers, you're witnessing the decline of Western civilization, but also the opportunity to welcome more good men seeking traditional values that you, as Filipinos, have never lost. To Western viewers feeling lost, there are places where your values are still honored and thriving. But here's my challenge to everyone watching. We are all children of God. Every person, regardless of their culture, political views, or struggles, deserves dignity, respect, and the freedom to live harmoniously. So, Western viewers, take my free Philippines Move assessment, and that's what I shared. It's in the video description. I shared in the chat. And I even showed it and demonstrated some of the things. All viewers, share your stories on the form that is also in the video description. And I want to share that again in a moment. Subscribe on whatever platform you're watching and join our global community. Filipino viewers, keep your culture strong and be ready to welcome those seeking what you have. Western viewers, there's hope beyond your current situation. Remember, we may feel lost sometimes, but together we can find our way. Keep your faith strong, protect your family, and never stop seeking truth and harmony. Thank you for making this historical multi-streaming event a success. God bless, and I'll see you on the next live stream. But before I go, you guys know I'm pounding this into you. I'm going to go back to the chat because I want to drop something and see what you guys have to say. And for the last time, I'm going to tell you guys tonight, you know how many times if you're a subscriber here, you've seen this or heard this from me. I'm dropping it in the chat. And I'm going to highlight it. Please share your story wherever you are in the world. Share it on that form. It's the most simplest form ever. And if you want it to be like you want to hide your identity, you don't want people to know who you are, share your story like that. If you want to tell who you are, you want me to tell your first name only, share it like that. If you want me to tell your full name, where you're from, fill out that form and just tell me there. Share your story. You can be private if you want to. Okay, let me go back to the chat here. I want to touch on what Jose Lito said. Be grateful for the little things in life that others take for granted. I want to show that again because that is just wonderful. May, who's a Filipina in America, married to an American. I think she's been there over 26 years or 30, married 26 years, I think, if I remember right, May. I'm grateful of this podcast because I can share my voice. Thank you, sir. Wow. Thank you so much, May. You're going to make me cry. Thank you so much. I appreciate that so much. You don't even know how much I appreciate that you just said that. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am May. Thank you so much for saying that. All right, everyone. I'm out, and I'll see you. You know what? Tomorrow I have a video coming out at 9 a.m. in the morning. It's just a simple video with my family, rehashing the 7-Eleven, just some things, my kids and stuff. Hope you'll watch that. I'll be out at 9 a.m. in the morning. So I might have a live stream tomorrow. It might be our one day off. I'll think about it. But otherwise, it's daily live streams. That's our YouTube channel now. And you'll hear and see my family behind. They're going to bed now. So it's time to end this. And I'll see you on the next one. God bless you and your families, and stay safe wherever you are in the world. And know your value. Learn your capacity to be human, what you have inside you. And like May said, come to this channel, join the community, and I'm happy to share your voice. Share your story. May, share your story on the forum. But even in here in the chat, we can share your story. God bless you, all. We'll say bye for now.